Good morning, everybody. It's Tommy DiMisa coming at you for the Nonprofit Executive Leadership Roundtable. It is July 22nd, 2022. Christine, Deska, and I have been collaborating on the Nonprofit Executive Leadership Roundtables for about 2.5 years now. And for the most part, for the last year or so, we've obviously been doing them on in the virtual format. I just was mentioning before I started the recording that we've formed an alliance with Captive. My friend Shannon Malkin Daniels is here, and I would like all of our friends to plug into the Captive portal and upload your information, put a bio in there, because then after meetings like this, everybody can get in touch with each other to talk about collaborative opportunities, to talk about, hey, I have a program that looks like this, and you have a program that looks like that. Maybe there's something we can do together. So before I have everybody introduce themselves, and I introduce our speaker and my collaborative partner, Christine Deska, who will be running today's interview with Melissa Greenberger, I'd like Shannon Malkin Daniels, if you could, Shannon, just a quick minute or two on how people may go about. And ladies and gentlemen, take notes if you can. I've sent out several emails about this, and I'll follow up with another email how to do it. But Shannon, you want to come off mute real quick and talk about
Sure.
Captive? Thank you.
Sure. Let me come over here and share my screen. All right. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Mm-hmm.
Got nods and all right. So I know we went over this at the last roundtable, but we'll do a quick review again. Yes, I'm excited that we've partnered together with Tommy and Christine and Philanthropy and Focus and the roundtable to do this. And so using Captive is going to allow you to just be able to go back, access the roundtables a lot easier, a lot more smoothly. I'll show you how to do that, as well as take advantage of some special offers that are there and continue networking with people after the roundtable is over. So it lets it live on and have a continuous place for this community and this access. So once you come in here, Tommy D has recorded a nice video for you, and you can watch that and learn a little bit more about what we're doing here. In the lobby here, you'll be able to see whichever sessions are active. So if there is an active roundtable going on, like there is right now, it'll pop up on this Happening Now board, and you can just click this join button to kick off the Zoom and hop right in. You can also access the roundtables here from the roundtables tab. In here, anything that is not active will be in black. And then any sessions that are active, meaning live at the moment, will change to this red color. So you'll always be able to visually see which one's active and just click to join it from there. And what that means is any of these ones that are here from a past, they will be able to be accessed by you. And so we'll be opening this up after the roundtable today, so that you'll be able to go in later today and start watching some of these previous roundtables that are here. All the recordings have been uploaded for you. And then on this people page, this is what Tommy was mentioning as a way to have this community and keep networking and see each other's information. This is where you'll be able to see each other's profiles. You can see some people have gone ahead and created their profiles, put in their LinkedIn information. When people are online, you'll be able to chat with them one-on-one directly. There's also this event-wide chat where we can post notifications and you can leave messages in here. Any message you put in here will be seen by absolutely everybody, so just be aware of that. Whereas if you send someone a direct message via this chat function here, you'll be able to just have a one-on-one private message with them. To update your profile, you're just going to go up here to this edit profile button. That's the little gear up there in the top left next to welcome your name. And you'll just upload your photo, your information, and then click the update profile button. You'll get a note that it's been successfully updated. And once you've done that, then you can just go view your card and see the information that's there. And then finally, we have this offers page where you'll be able to see offers that are available to you. There's 4 there already, but I'm sure as time goes on, Tommy and team will be seeing what else they can offer up for you in here. And then also the sponsors that Tommy's been working with. So if you have any questions, you can come to this people page and feel free to reach out to me directly via my card, or to reach out to our support. There's a card here for Captive support as well. So if you have any difficulties, you can reach us there. That's it.
Thank you, Shannon. I want to just keep it moving. If you have questions, put them in the chat. Send them to Shannon, send them to me after the fact, because I want to keep our program going. But I notice a whole bunch more names when I look at my other monitor that were not there this morning or last night for sure. So people really utilized the emails I was sending out. So that makes me feel good, because I did have a bit of anxiety about if people were going to show up in the wrong place at the wrong time for the wrong meeting, or maybe it would be the right meeting, but you wouldn't be at this meeting. All right, so back to our program. I make myself laugh half the time. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go around the room. I'd like it to be like 15 to 30 seconds, and I'm gonna be kind of like tough about that because we have a program to get to. But what I'd like to hear from you is your name, the name of your organization. If you you can tell me your role in the organization, because often we have people in different roles inside of organizations that meet with us here. So I'll tell you who's going to go first. Erin Dinan, if you're good, I'm going to tell you you're going to go first, but you have some time because I'm going to keep talking for a minute here. But Erin Dinan and then Vicki Ellnor, and I'll tell you like that. I'll tell you who's going first and then who's coming up next. If you could, then your name, the name of your organization, if you want to tell us what you do quick, and then if you have a specific ask, something you're looking for right now. Now that, what is a specific ask? You know, I know not all of us are networking all the time, but it's, hey, you know, we have this opening coming up for a part-time person at $24 an hour, project management and housing. Wow, that's super freaking specific. My wife told me not to say freaking anymore, but that's super specific. Like it is. Like, what are you looking for? Who do you need? And who, you know, potentially the answer might be in this room, or it's 1 or 2 degrees away from this room. So that's networking, that's connecting. So after that, I will bring the meeting back, I will take control again for a minute or two. I will introduce Melissa Greenberger and Christine Deska, and then they will take away our feature presentation for the day. So that, without further ado, Erin Dinan and then Vicki Ellnor, please.
Thank you, Tommy. Good morning, everyone. I'm thrilled to be able to join today. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Erin Dinan. I am the co-founder and executive director of a New York-based nonprofit called One Sandwich at a Time. We're a pretty grassroots organization with a mission to combat hunger and homelessness with our 2 hands through volunteerism, kindness, and we say our shared humanity. So we organize and run sandwich making events with our local communities to make and deliver hundreds of, if not thousands of sandwiches to those in need. So we're always looking for volunteers, sponsors, any grocery stores that may be willing to help us in our mission. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Erin. Thanks for being here. Vicki Ellnor and then Roberta Rosenberg, please.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Vicki Ellnor. I'm on the board of directors of New York Statewide Senior Action Council, which is a grassroots advocacy organization for issues related to, as it says, seniors and aging, for programming, funding, and a voice for seniors throughout the state. I'm also working with Great Panthers, the New York City chapter, as a community organizer. Right now, our main focus is on nursing home transformation. We did have an event honoring nursing home lives recently, and that's basically our platform. So for statewide, looking to launch a Long Island chapter. I've been working on that for a while, and I'm glad to be here. Extensive experience in the not-for-profit world, and thank you, Tommy, you know, so much for having me here, and you know, the chance to connect with other leaders.
Thank you, Vicki. I appreciate you being here. So really quick, I didn't mention this up front. So if you are not with a nonprofit, if you sit on the board, share that. If you work with nonprofits, share that. So just wanted to underscore that. I think, Roberta, did I tell you were going next, Roberta? Okay, good. I want to make sure I did that. I did it in my head. I wasn't sure if I actually said it out loud. So we'll go to Roberta Rosenberg, followed by Ron Anderson, who had an awesome conversation. Ron was on my show on Friday, and Ron, what a special conversation. So please, so Roberta and then Ron, please.
Hi, good morning. I'm Roberta Rosenberg. Nice to be here. Nice to be invited. This is my first time. I am the founder and director of Destination Accessible. We are a nonprofit that aims to enrich the lives of those with mobility impairments. We believe everybody deserves to have a good time when they go out for fun. Our job is to have people know before they go exactly what they're going to find at a museum, a theater, a restaurant, a park, any popular places people go for fun. You can find out before you go exactly what you're going to find. Parking, grounds, entrances, ease of navigation, if it's a theater, seating, restaurants, restrooms, anything like that. All of our information is based on personal visits. So if we have not been there, we are not writing about it. And that's what we do.
Thank you, Roberta. Glad you're here. Destination mobility. Destination, did I say it wrong?
Destination accessible.
Destination accessible. So a lot of folks in that could be affected by that, and I appreciate the work you're doing. Ron, and then Jerry, please.
Okay, my name is Ron Anderson. I'm Executive Director of Project Reclaim in Mendon. That's in the northwest corner of Louisiana. And what Project Reclaim does is we provide leadership and social skills training for youth that typically get overlooked for leadership and social skills training. Typically youth in elementary, middle, and high schools that are selected for such an opportunity are the A and B students or the stellar athletes. Well, we reach out to the kids from distressed communities, single parent households living in poverty, and we feel an essential obligation to teach those kids to be the best and the most effective leaders they can be in their home, schools, and communities. We also provide parental involvement activities that get the parents and guardians involved, and we provide life skills training for youth that have been involved in juvenile court. So we're trying to get kids on the right track and keep them that way.
Thank you, Ron. So Jerry Wade, please, followed by Kibbe.
Good morning, everybody. Jerry Wade, founder of On Point Strategic Planning, which is a veteran-owned financial services firm. I serve on the board for Junior Achievement, working with financial literacy for kids for many, many years. My son's on the autism spectrum, and I'm a chartered special needs consultant. I believe education is great, and that's why I love working with nonprofits, educating their employees and also educating the families that they work with. The greatest thing about this is, what does it cost the nonprofit to have me educate their employees? Nothing. So if you're interested, let me know.
Very good, Jerry. Thank you. So Kibbe, and then we heard from Brandy, but Brandy, come back on after Kibbe, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Kibbe Samuel. I'm with Protecting Chrysalis. I'm the co-founder and secretary. We are a new nonprofit working to break the cycle of the inequities that really contribute to generational incarceration. We are working within Westchester, New York City, and Long Island. And we're just looking to partner with and connect to schools, communities, and other nonprofits to really kind of help remove those barriers that are in place for families.
Kibbe, how did you find out about us first?
I believe we got your information through, oh goodness gracious.
Is it Melissa? Melissa's waving her hands. Melissa Greenberger invited you.
Okay, there we go.
She's waving at me. So here's the thing. Our children, spelled H-O-U-R, our children, so they're a client of mine. Sister Tisa Fitzgerald founded the organization. They're in Long Island City, Queens. We need to talk about them. They work with women when they're incarcerated and then when they get out, and they work with their families. And there was a second one. Oh, Avenues for Justice out of Lower East Side of New York City. I met them through the New York City Imagine Awards application process. And I think you should look them up as well. But reach out to me directly. If anybody wants to reach out to me, it's Tommy D at philanthropyinfocus.com. And focus is spelled P-H-O-C-U-S. But Kibbe, I would love to connect with you, learn more about your organization, and make connections. And, you know, I break my own rules sometimes by chatting in the middle of these things, but it's because I can't help myself and because I think it has to be done. So
no, that's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So thanks for being here. Stick with us. You know, another great benefit of Incaptive, a little bird is telling me, is that when we chat inside of Incaptive, those chats are saved. Salute, Aaron Dinan. I saw you sneeze. So Incaptive, when you're chatting inside of Incaptive, it's there. When we chat inside of Zoom, it goes away unless you save the chat at the end of the meeting. So just another quick tip. So if you utilize it for your conversations that way, my partner Christine is here now. Good timing. All right. So I said Brandy. After Brandy, Paul Rubin, please.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here once again. And thank you, Ian Wilder, for even presenting this to me. Anyway, my name is Brandy Watson. I'm the president of the Hempstead Community Land Trust. Our mission is to provide home ownership opportunities to low to moderate income individuals and families of color here in our village of Hempstead. That is our area right now. We do plan on expanding a little bit later, but we feel that everyone should have the opportunity to build some wealth with home ownership. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. I said Paul Rubin, and then we'll go to Jen Capezza, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Paul Rubin. I'm the founder and executive director of Camp Good Morning. We provide free bereavement camp programs for Long Island children who are coping with the death of a parent and or sibling. And we do that primarily in the spring and fall.
Thank you, Paul. I saw you put something in the chat. What did it say? Because I haven't gotten to it yet. I saw it earlier pop in though.
Exactly what I just said, except
cool.
the spring and fall part.
Oh, I didn't know if there was an event or something that you posted. Okay. All right. Thank you, Paul. Thanks for being here. You did post something recently. I saw that your camp is happening in November this year. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So we have our fall camp is happening November 5th through the 7th. We're currently taking applications for all positions, including support group leaders, nurses, just volunteer big buddies, support staff and the such. So feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of this community. Jen Capezza, and then my buddy Ryan Harbinson, who was a speaker for us here at the roundtables about 2-3 months ago. So Jen, then Harb.
Good morning. My name is Jen Capezza. I'm the Director of Development for LI Against Domestic Violence. And we've been providing prevention, support, and healing for DV survivors for over 45 years in, and I know I'm biased, the most comprehensive and innovative way possible. For example, we're the only Suffolk County agency with a formal partnership with law enforcement and the courts. We're also the only agency on Long Island that hosts the family pets in our shelter. And that pet shelter received the Long Island Imagine Awards this year for innovative category. Two things. We are looking for sponsors for our pet event, sponsor partners. And that's a really fun day. Pet fashion show. Let me just leave you with this. Pomeranians in poodle skirts. You can't go wrong. The other thing is I want to know what, you have no idea. I also want to know what donations you all accept. We're very fortunate. We have a very high profile on Long Island. And I get, thank you, Shannon. I get probably 15 calls a week for donations that we ourselves do not accept. For example, books. I send so many people to Amy at the book fairies, at least 5 a month. So I want to know, I met here, the Alad Foundation. They accept diapers and things. I was able to send her a bunch of stuff. So I really want to know what donations you all take and how I can refer donors to you.
Thank you, Jen. Thanks for being such a great part of what we do. And you were one of our speakers in the past. So listen, this is a community. This isn't like, you know, a monarchy. So if you have incredible information that you want to share with this group, by all means, reach out to Christine and I, and we'll make it happen. Do me a favor. I'm just hearing some background sometimes. So if you're not on mute, if you're not speaking, do me a favor, just jump off of or jump onto mute, please. Let's go to Ryan and then Kim Covell, please.
Thank you, sir. Ryan Harbinson with Clearbridge Branding Agency. We are a group of industry vets that have come together to really start something special. So we work with mid-sized organizations to really help them revitalize their brand. So really branding creative is where we start, target audience and messaging, and then really how we get that message out to the people that make the most sense. On the nonprofit side, I love working with a lot of nonprofit boards and your donors to really offer incentives on LinkedIn. So some of you were here for that. So I do teach LinkedIn training courses. I'm in the top 1% of all of LinkedIn. I've been on the platform for over 13 years, and it's a great way to help nonprofits kind of organically utilize LinkedIn to spread the word, and it allows me to make some new friends. So if you're interested, please reach out. My contact info is in the chat. And Tommy, as always, great job, my friend.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. And I'm looking at In Captive on the other screen. It was April 22nd, and LinkedIn for Nonprofits, Ryan Harbinson. So you can check that out in your In Captive. Wow, there's a theme here, Tommy D. Stop talking about it. So, but that's the point. Is it's something that I thought would be beneficial for us all. So that's why I did this. All right, I said it was going to be Kim Covell, followed by Ian Wilder, please.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Kim Covell, and I'm the founder and executive director of the Flying Point Foundation for Autism. We started about 10 years ago, and our initial mission was to create recreational programs for kids with autism in an inclusive environment. We accomplished that goal, and we continue to do it every single summer. We didn't get to do it last year, obviously, but we're back again this year. In addition, we offer recreational programs throughout the year, also in an inclusive environment. And we offer autism awareness training to first responders, to which we get a tremendous response from people all across Long Island. They come from Westchester, New York City, and more. We offer scholarships to students with autism who are graduating and will be going on to college or vocational school. And we also offer scholarships to students who are not on the autism spectrum, but have shown a commitment to the cause.
How did Kim, how did you find out about our group? I don't know if we've met before.
I had a friend who connected me with Melissa.
Love it. Love it. Way to go, Melissa. Really growing our community. That's so awesome. All right. Thanks for being here, Kim. If I can help make some connections for you, please reach out. You're welcome. Ian Wilder, Beth Buckheister.
Hey, Ian Wilder. I'm in transit. Executive Director, Long Island Housing Services. We're an over 50-year-old civil rights organization that focuses on fair housing. Got a bunch of things going on. You can hit me up later for longer explanations. We're always looking for fair housing testers. Those are people that help find people who are discriminating, housing providers. We are looking for a bilingual housing counselor, and we have our gala coming up in October. And as usual, we're looking for sponsors to help us honor Concern for Independent Living and Newsday for their Long Island Divided investigation. Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you, Ian. Is that a real in-person event?
Actually, it's a tight 45-minute virtual event.
Got it. Okay.
I don't trust Delta. I'll talk to you later. Oh, by the way, Brandy, thank you for the shout out. Made my morning.
I was just going to say you guys need to connect, but I forgot that she said that's how she got here through you. That's right. Yep.
Great, Ian, and drive safely.
If you don't trust Delta, I guess fly JetBlue, Ian. I'm being cute. I know what you meant. I'm being trying to be cute here. All right, Beth.
No, that's funny.
Yeah,
Beth,
that was cute.
Thank you, Beth, and then Amy Zaslansky, please.
Wow, I'm in between such good company. Both old friends, Ian and Amy. Good morning, everybody. Hi, Jen. I saw you wave. Hi, everybody. I am Beth Buckheister. I'm the Executive Director of Career Day, Inc. Our mission is to inspire students through career choice awareness. Unbelievably, we had our best semester in the spring of 2021 with 3 programs. Thank you to those who participated. Amazing speakers coming to talk to our students, and we give a scholarship to both middle school and high school students. Greatest story so far this year, our middle school student who wanted to be an entrepreneur and a chef, 8th grader. She always knew she wanted to be an entrepreneur. A student of color in a lower economic school district. And so I gifted her, instead of a $500 check, I gifted her a week of lessons at the Institute for Culinary Education in Manhattan, done virtually. We supported her in addition with some money for the food. She sent me pictures of her first cooking class. So excited, so thrilled to be part of a school like that. And that's what we're talking about moving forward. My other fantastic, unbelievable story is that I was interviewed by Carol Silva. I'm sure all of our Long Island people know Carol Silva, our wonderful News 12 anchor who's since retired. She is well, in case anybody is curious about her health. She's healthy and well, thank goodness. And she interviewed me for her first edition coming out in September of Long Island Women's Magazine, available online and at Stop and Shop.
Congratulations.
So thanks. So she'll tell a little bit of my story about how Career Day Inc. came to be. And I was very thrilled that it was recommended to her that she speak to me.
That's awesome. And plenty of influential women, so she could write a whole bunch of magazines with all the people we know, Beth. So that's pretty awesome. Congratulations. You're now the president of your synagogue. I know that's a big deal. That's important. So the service work continues. Amy Zaslansky and then Greg Denweiler, please.
Amy Zaslansky, founder of the Book Fairies. I'll make it short and sweet because our mission and our goal is very simple. We take all of the books that you no longer need in your house and we give them out to high need communities across Long Island and the 5 boroughs. So connect with us if you have books to donate, or connect with us if you have places that could use our books. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Greg, and then after Greg, we'll go to Mick Collins.
Greg Denweiler, it's Denver, Colorado, 6:50 in the morning. I'm on the board of I Empathize. We're a human trafficking space. Best way I can tell you what we do, you have a 14-year-old daughter. We give her a short program, show her the things to look out for. Someone's approaching her, that if she connects with that person, it's probably a 5% chance she makes it to her 22nd birthday.
Scary stuff, Greg, and you know, but your candor is appreciated and understood. So thank you for being here. Thank you for the work you do, and we'd love to learn more about the work you do at some point soon. Mick Collins and then Melanie Rowe, please.
Thanks for having me, Tommy. Mick Collins, Pay It Forward Processing. We provide payment processing in an ethical and honest manner to businesses as well as nonprofits. I personally manage accounts with 3 nonprofits in my old neighborhood in Northern California. And in that neighborhood, we generated 40 grand in donations because that's our purpose, donating our net proceeds to charity. Over $400,000 donated nationally since we instituted the program in 2014.
Thank you, Mick, and I appreciate the friendship and what we're going to be doing. You and I, really special stuff. And in fact, on my show, the executive director of Every Swipe Benefits Charity will be on philanthropy and focus later this year, who's also the founder of the business side of things. So thanks, Mick, for being here. I said Melanie Rowe after that, and then Soyan. It said Soyan, Long Island. So Soyan, go. I'm not sure if that's your name or that's the organization, but so Melanie, and then we'll find out who Soyan is.
My name is Melanie Rowe. I really appreciate the opportunity to join. I work with Kibby Samuel as one of the co-founders of Protecting Chrysalis. We are in our infancy. We're just starting up, so this is a great opportunity to learn from the experience of everybody. And our goal is to work with families, children, and schools to provide supportive services and educational resources to families experiencing the incarceration of a loved one in order to help break the cycle of intergenerational incarceration.
Thanks for being here and for what you're doing. We'll go to, I look forward to learning more about that organization for sure. Soyan and then Edward Garfinkel, please.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Leslie Feinberg. I'm the founder and of Soyan, supporting our youth and adult network. I want to thank Melissa for sharing the flyer to participate today. We are brand new. We're still fledgling. Actually, we're still in the process of becoming a not-for-profit. We've basically been a grassroots organization since 2016. And what we do is we're a network of parents and family members and self-advocates who are on the journey of using OPWDDs, that's the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities model of service delivery called self-direction. And what we do is we provide families with one-on-one support as they navigate the journey. We also have monthly support groups where we share the information and share information and resources. And we're mostly on Long Island, although we are, since COVID, we've been meeting people across the state. So that's who we are. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. And thanks, Melissa, for being such a great advocate on this organization and what we do here and bringing more folks. I missed your name at the beginning. Would you, it might have.
Sure, it's Leslie Feinberg.
Leslie Feinberg. Welcome, Leslie. Thanks so much for being here.
Sure, thanks, Tommy.
We have a lot, you're welcome. We have a lot of resources in this space. So as you're advancing the ball down the field, let us know. Maybe we can help you with those people you might need to connect with. Ed Garfinkel and then Jessica Schwab. Ed, you're on mute. Just come off mute, please. Thank you.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Ed Garfinkel. I'm on the board of directors of NAMI Queens Nassau and National Alliance of Mental Illness. We provide support, education, and advocacy for those individuals dealing with mental health and mental illness issues and their families. As an aside, we are going to be looking toward the end of the year probably for office space. So if anybody knows where we could find cheap office space. And one of the reasons I bring that up is one of the reasons we're looking for office space is that Probono partners successfully helped us negotiate a lease withdrawal from our prior lease. So I just wanted to throw a plug in for Probono attorneys.
Great, thanks for being here. And you know, mental health is something we really need to work on, the way we address mental health on this planet. So I'd love to connect with you on that. Jessica Schwab, and then as I look around my screen, I need to pick somebody else. Linda Berman will come on after Jessica, please.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
I did that. I was trying to mute myself, but I was looking at you, Jessica. So just, I'm unmuting you. Just unmute yourself, Jessica.
Okay.
I was looking at you and trying to mute me out, and I screwed it up. So
That's okay, it happens.
please start again.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jessica Schwab. I'm the development specialist at Options for Community Living. We're a human service agency serving Nassau and Suffolk counties on Long Island, providing supportive housing, care coordination, and case management services for individuals with HIV, other chronic illnesses, and mental health illnesses. We, like many organizations on Long Island, are looking for employees. We have several open positions right now, especially for our outreach workers, case managers, care coordinators. We are also looking for an LPN, licensed practical nurse, as well as residential counselors for our housing. So if anybody has any referrals or has any questions, I'm going to put my contact information in the chat. Feel free to reach out and we'll get you connected.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jessica. All right, we're going to do the lightning round quick. I got to move this forward. I've been a little too liberal with timing, so we got to move fast to get through everybody really quick. So Linda Berman, name, organization, and a quick ask, like 15 seconds.
You bet. Tommy, thanks for bringing us all together. Linda Berman, the Corporate Source. We're a nonprofit that's dedicated to creating employment opportunities for individuals with disabilities. And we are about to launch an IT specialist training and certification program. If anybody has candidates who are talented individuals with disability, who are interested in learning new skills and stepping into IT, please let me know, linda.berman@thecorporatesource.org. And I put in the chat also Celebrating Work, a Labor of Love, an evening of entertainment. We're having an event on October 21st. It's a virtual event. Please join us.
Thank you, Linda.
Tommy.
You're welcome. Let's go to Adele real quick. Adele, just introduce yourself, and then Adam Rabinovich, please.
Good morning, everybody. Adele Viola. I am a cause entrepreneur with One Hope Wines. I help nonprofits raise money through events or just sharing delicious wine with everybody, virtual or in person. I would love to help you with any events that you have coming up or anything that you have a question about.
Thanks, Adele. Adam Rabinovich, and then Suzanne Taylor King, if you want to come off mute. I see you on mute and stuff, so hopefully you're here with us. So Adam and then Suzanne.
Good morning, I'm Adam, the Executive Director of COPE, a nonprofit grief and healing organization dedicated to supporting parents and families living with the loss of a child. I dropped our ask earlier in the chat, and Melissa, who I'm a fan of, and we are a proud client of Pro Bono Partnership, just put her in. So I'm here to listen and learn.
Thank you so much, Adam. Appreciate you being here. Suzanne Taylor King, if you can hear me, I see you just came off mute. Suzanne, and then Rebecca, please.
Good morning, everyone. Excited to be here to support you, Tommy. I am a life and business coach for entrepreneurs, and I have been on the board of numerous nonprofits, super passionate about the space. So if anyone needs a speaker in the realm of positive psychology or business growth, authentic connection, building rapport, I'm your girl, happy to help out. Anything Tommy's involved in, I'm happy to donate my time.
You're awesome. Thank you. I appreciate your friendship. Please put your information in the chat so people can track you down. We'll go to Rebecca Gibson and then Mary Lee, please.
Hi, guys. Coming to you from my teenage son's bedroom because it's summer and he's sleeping in front of the air conditioner on the sofa. And there's workouts going on. There's another team getting ready to go to work. So I have several things. I'm with I Empathize. We are a national organization. I'm in New York City. My board colleague Greg jumped on earlier to say hello. We're working to prevent and end human trafficking. We use media to raise awareness and prevention through youth and sector-based training. I heard multiple comments today for potential people we need to connect with. So please reach out to me. I'll put my information in the chat. And I want to ask, my daughter is working at Museum of Art and Design. She is intern for the youth program, and she's looking for, if anybody knows anything about audio tours of Tribeca. if you have something, send it to me. She's researching and that's something they need for their program. So they're working on audio this summer.
Throw that in the chat just in case anybody missed it and how they can get in contact with you. We'll go to Mary Lee and Marilyn Tickton. And if I missed anybody, you're going to have to holler at me after that. So Mary Lee and then Marilyn, please.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Tommy and Christine, for putting this together every month. I'm the owner and founder of Innovative Microsystems. We're a full service IT company that focuses on nonprofits. I'm just going to talk about one of the services. We provide managed services for nonprofits, and it's a fixed, just to, some people may not know what that is. It's a fixed cost for maintaining your computer systems. And I know that nonprofits are always budget challenged. So we work with you guys in providing complete services. So maintenance, upgrades, updates, you name it. And we
Mary,
are.
I just got to pull it back only because of time, but put your contact info in the chat, please. All right.
Okay, I did.
I got to keep moving. All right. Very cool. Sorry to do that. I hate doing that, but I have to do something. I got to slow it down. Marilyn and then Frank Orzo, please, really quick.
Good morning, everybody. Marilyn Tickton, Court Furniture. We do office and residential furniture at discounted prices, and I'm here to partner with nonprofits and support their mission and give back. Thank you. My information's in the chat.
Thanks, Marilyn. Frank Orzo and then Lori Miller. Frank, are you back with us? All right. Frank is, he told me he had to sneak away. So Lori Miller, come off mute one more time because we lost you in the beginning. And then I think I got everybody. No, Lori, there? All right, Lori, I'll put your information.
Good morning, everyone. Lori Miller, Executive Neighborhood Housing. But we provide, our focus is home ownership for low to moderate income homeowners, getting people into homes, helping them repair their homes, and also for those people who are at risk of foreclosure, helping them save their homes.
Perfect. Thank you, Lori. We got it all because I thought there was a disconnect, but then we heard you. So raise your hand if I didn't get to you, or just come and say, hey, Tommy D, you didn't get to me. Good. I think I did okay then. All right. So let's move. Let's keep the show moving on to our feature presentation. That sounded dramatic, right? I worked on that. All right. So here's the deal. Christina and I have been doing this probably 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. We used to do them in real life. Now we do these meetings, obviously, here on the virtual on Zoom. I'm going to read really quick 10, 15 seconds about Christine. Christine is the co-founder of Nonprofit Sector Strategies, which is a public benefit corporation dedicated to helping nonprofits maximize their mission and impact. NSS, Nonprofit Sector Strategies, provides both strategic planning, advising, and consulting, as well as board management services to small and medium-sized firms. And as you may know, they created Bell's Board, which is a board management software and platform. If you did not know that and you're interested, Christine and Frank and I run monthly demos and webinars to teach people about Bell's Board and how it can impact your organization. Now I want to talk to you about Melissa, and then I will be quiet and let Christine and Melissa take over. So Melissa Greenberger, senior staff attorney with Probono Partnership. She spent the last 10 years working in the nonprofit sector here on Long Island. And prior to joining the partnership, she was pro bono innovator at Nassau Suffolk Law Services Committee, where she helped to create self-help child support pro bono project and recruited and trained as well as supervised volunteer attorneys and law students. Melissa is going to tell you way more about herself and her role and the impact she makes than I can read off a slide. So at this point, Christine, Deska, if you can take the baton, take the show. This is all you and Melissa at this point. I will see you all soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Tommy. Good morning, everybody. Can you wave? Can you hear me? All right, hopefully we'll get back to our bagels soon. I really do miss those bagels. I'm very hungry right now, to be honest. I'm so excited that Melissa is with us. She has been one of our earliest attendees when we were a group of 7. I think Melissa was with us, you know, and here we are 2 years, 3 years later, whatever it is. So Melissa and I had a prep call. It was like, as my partner Frank says a lot, drinking from a fire hydrant. We covered corporate governance, programming, fundraising, employment, real estate, privacy, intellectual property. Turns out we really do need lawyers. We need them a lot. And we are really lucky to get some free legal advice this morning. from Melissa, who's an expert in all things nonprofits and how to guide you. So really warm welcome to you, Melissa. Thanks for offering to speak to our group. So just start out by telling us a little bit more about you. Many of us know you and know Pro Bono, but some people don't. So give us, how your background and how you made your way to Pro Bono partnership.
You got it. So good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Tommy and Christine, for inviting me to speak this morning. I'm totally feeling the love in this room, the chats, the shout outs. It's been awesome. I will say before I start anything that any good lawyer will give you a disclaimer. I am not going to give you any legal advice this morning. I'm going to share information and spot issues and identify risk and share my experiences. So so that being said, I don't want anyone to say, well, Melissa advised me to do this. I'm not advising anybody to do anything this morning. I think that makes me, good lawyer right off the bat. So I've been practicing for over 20 years. I've spent the last probably 10 to 12 in the nonprofit space. Prior to that, I've done personal injury, I've done criminal defense, I've done some town work for zonings and violations and fire and safety violations. Oh my gosh, for 2 years before I went to Nassau Suffolk Law Services, I worked in the foreclosure prevention space. I ran the foreclosure prevention clinic at Toro Law School. And so I supervised students and helped homeowners to work out solutions to try and save their homes. As you can imagine, for those of you who are in the housing space, really impactful work. And so I feel like I've had my hands in a lot of different things. And now I'm able to advise nonprofits and counsel nonprofits, which is an incredible daily experience. And so what I do at Pro Bono Partnership, for those of you who don't know me, it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have a dual mission, and it is to provide pro bono legal assistance to other 501c3 nonprofit organizations. We work in New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. I cover Long Island, everything from the Montauk, the East End, all the way up to the Nassau-Queens border. I think there might even be clients on the call this morning who are all on both of the ends of the island that I've worked with, and everything in between. And we handle transactional matters, which means anything that could be drafted. So if it's a document that could be drafted, we can probably assist you with that. If it's a matter, a dispute or something in court or litigation, we don't handle that. And those are the types of things that I do. And yeah, I'll let you, I'll let you ask a follow-up or something. I don't want to just keep rambling.
Thank you so much, Melissa. I know when I hear you introduce yourself, I always think, okay, everything except litigation, but I really didn't realize how much you all have to offer nonprofits. And so tell us kind of what's a typical day like? What are some of the calls and inquiries you get? Because I'm sure it's something that someone listening here is thinking, oh, if I could call Melissa right now, I'd probably ask her XYZ. So what does it look like when you pick up the phone in your office or home office now, I think?
Yes, my home office now. So I get calls on a variety of issues. This week, I think I got calls on waivers, COVID waivers, because now people are starting to do programs in person. They want to make sure that the waivers they have for their programs or events contain language about COVID. I've gotten calls this week alone, about employment handbooks. People want to update their policies. The New York HERO Act was just passed. So now every employer has to implement or actually just adopt an airborne infectious disease policy. So if you don't know about that, go onto the Pro Bono Partnership website. There's resources and news, and there's a legal alert on that. So that's another benefit of being a Pro Bono Partnership client. You get our legal alerts. And so we send out alerts anytime there's a change in the law or an update, things you need to know about. So I got a couple of inquiries about that this week. What do I do? How do I get a policy? Where do I find it? For all of you, you can find it on the New York State Department of Labor website. They've put up a model policy. I got calls this week about fundraising events. We want to do a fundraising event. What do we need to have in place? How do we do this? People want to know about leases. I forget who it was that mentioned, we help organizations with their leases. So, we need to get out of this space. COVID's really hurt our revenue. What do we do to renegotiate or get out of the space? So, it could be anything from the from drafting contracts to drafting waivers to employee matters, intellectual property questions. Someone contacted me this week, we have a trademark, we want to protect it. We think someone else is using something very, very similar. So, call like that. So anytime I pick up the phone, I never know what it is I'm going to get, but it's always interesting. People, coming up with new ideas. And so part of what I counsel is, let's take a look at what your mission is and figure out, can you do this new program? What are the risks involved? And we talk a lot about risks and identifying the risks and, what can go wrong and how we make things work. And I hate being the person that says no. And I often think, people come to lawyers, they call lawyers and they're like, oh God, the lawyer's gonna tell me no. I don't like to say no. Sometimes I have to say no, but a lot of times I like to be the one who can help them, solve the problem or think creatively. I like to let nonprofits think out of the box and I keep them compliant. So you stay in the compliance box and you can think out of the box.
And so Melissa, you mentioned risk, and then Ed, I'll get to your question. That is a good one. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking that as well. How do you advise organizations to approach their risk tolerance? Because when we were talking, it was an overwhelming list of items to be in compliance. I thought I had a good handle on it, and many of them I'm familiar with, but it just keeps growing. Nonprofits are expected to do so much, and thank goodness for an organization like yours to help support and guide organizations. But how do you talk to organizations about that, their risk tolerance?
So it really, the board of a nonprofit is the entity that has oversight and governance responsibility. And it's a top-down model. So the board oversees the executive director, and then the executive director oversees the staff. So the risk tolerance really has to come from the board. What are they comfortable with? Because if the organization is going to get sued, it's the board who has to answer that. So think about, what can go wrong? And my family knows I'm always like going to the dark side. They're always like, oh my God, you always think of the worst case scenario. Why do you always do that? I think that's part of what law school does. They train you to think about all the things that can go wrong. And then you step back to try and implement your plan to figure out, okay, well, this can go wrong. So what will I do if that happens? And how do I prevent that from happening? What steps can I take? So it's, thinking about what can go wrong. What will you do if something goes wrong? And then how are you going to pay for it or address the problem? And nonprofits, have a lot of assets. It's not just, the money that and physical and tangible assets, but their people are assets. Reputation of a nonprofit is a huge asset. And you really, risking your organization's reputation is really, that's extremely detrimental. You don't want to be on the front page of the New York Times for, something negative. It's great when there's a nice story about you. I'm so happy that, Beth mentioned that she's going to be featured for the work she's doing with Career Day. Those stories are always great. I love hearing and reading those stories, but you don't want to be splashed on the front page of any, newspaper for something that went wrong. So the board really has to figure out, what's the risk tolerance? What risks are we willing to take? How can we take them and how can we manage that?
Great, thank you so much. So I do want to get to a couple questions before we lose track of them. Ed says, and I'll use his words, not to be greedy, but how many assignments can an organization use you for in a year?
So I tell people, often when we start talking, I'm not like the genie with 3 wishes. So there's no limit. You become a client as long as you stay connected with us and don't lapse 2 years. You don't have to go through a whole rescreening process. So we can do, we can do 20 projects in a year. I usually like to open one at a time, really because, my clients have so much else going on that it's hard to focus on projects with Pro Bono Partnership. They're working with a volunteer and, staying in touch and keeping things moving. But there's no limit on the number of projects we can do. And there's no limit on like what it can be. So if you come to me with a contract, it's not just that we're only going to do contracts for you. We can do contracts, employment, real estate, intellectual property, you name it.
And what about the application process to get connected with Pro Bono? I think that's important because there are certain requirements for a good reason, so that you all work with organizations who are serious about what they need and are respectful of the time that you all are putting in to support them.
Right. So it's really important that the organization, whether it be the board, the executive director, you designate a point person, and that person's going to be responsible for staying in touch with me as sort of the project manager once we get started, as well as whatever volunteer attorney is working on it. If you go to our website, which is probonopartner.org, There's a drop down for request legal assistance. You can click on that. For organizations that already have their tax exempt status, so they're incorporated with tax exempt status. There's an application for existing organizations. If you don't yet have tax exempt status, then you're an emerging organization. And then it asks you, there's like a questionnaire form, and you have to upload some documents. And we review the documents. We'll then have a screening call. And a lot of people on this call have been through that process with me. And we identify issues. We talk about what's going on, and we try to get a sense of, what the impact is. Obviously, because we're a nonprofit organization, we have to be careful with our resources. So we really want to make sure that we're working with organizations that are that have a well-governing board, that need the assistance. Usually they're small to medium-sized organizations. I mean, if an organization is sitting on $1 million of unrestricted assets, they can afford to hire an attorney. So we really look to help those organizations that if they had to hire an attorney and pay legal fees, they'd have to cut somewhere in their programs. And we really want organizations to focus on their programs. But you can find all our criteria, who we serve, what we do, that's all on our website.
Thanks so much, Melissa. And what about your service area? Oh, and Vicki, I hope that answered your question in terms of the emerging organization groups looking to become nonprofits. And so Nick asked, can you help organizations outside of New York? What is your catchment area?
Yep, so we're in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, outside of New York City, 5 boroughs. There's another organization called Lawyers Alliance, and they work in the 5 boroughs. So if anybody on the call is in 5 boroughs and needs help, contact Lawyers Alliance. If you're out here on Long Island or Westchester, Jersey, Connecticut, it's Pro Bono Partnership. There are Pro Bono partnerships in Atlanta and in Ohio. And then there are other, if you need help outside of there, you can feel free to email me. My email's in the chat. I do have a list of other organizations, law schools, and other providers that might be able to help.
Great. So let's jump into one of the bucket areas we talked about, and you kind of started with this in terms of risk tolerance, right? Starting with the board. So when it comes to good governance, what are some common legal issues that you see popping up, excuse me, often or consistently with nonprofits? Talk about some of the things that you're kind of continuously seeing come to your attention.
So probably one of the most popular projects we do is bylaws review. So every nonprofit has to have bylaws. New York, I work with, I'm licensed in New York, so I'm going to speak about New York nonprofits. New York nonprofits, they have bylaws, and they're required to have a conflict of interest policy. And every year, all the key people, so it's board members, it's high-level employees, could be significant donors. It's very specific in the nonprofit law. They all have to sign the conflict of interest policy and do a disclosure statement every year. So it's not just we adopted it when we were formed and then we forgot about it for the next 10 years. That's an annual requirement. And a lot of organizations either haven't yet adopted the conflict of interest policy because that was a change to the law in 2014. They don't know about it, or they think, well, we did it once, we're good. So that's a common issue. The bylaws are really your governing document. So it's going to discuss and have provisions for how the board should be operating, how meetings should be conducted, how board members are elected, how officers are elected or appointed, what happens if you can't hold a meeting in person. All that's going to be in your bylaws. And that's really a living document. So you want to go back every year and look at your bylaws and say, are these bylaws working for us? Do they make sense? I've seen some organizations when they apply for assistance, we do ask to see the bylaws. I've seen bylaws that were done in like the 1970s. They're extremely outdated. The board hasn't looked at them. They didn't know where they were. So you want to make sure you know where your bylaws are. They're not just something to put in a board book somewhere or put on the shelf and forget about. You want to make sure you know what's in them. You want to make sure you're following them. If someone were to challenge a board decision and there was an investigation, that would be done by the Attorney General's office because they have oversight responsibility for all public charities in New York. So if the AG's office were doing an investigation, they would say, we want to see your bylaws. If you made decisions and you weren't following your bylaws, that can all be challenged and it becomes a whole mess. So really important, update your bylaws, make sure you know what they say and how they work. So that's a big governance issue. The 990 is a reporting requirement. Just like you all file personal tax returns, you have to file a nonprofit return. It's an informational return. If for some reason you don't file one for 3 years, you will automatically lose your tax exempt status from the IRS. And believe it or not, I've seen it happen. People just forget about it. The board changes over, or someone's just lax. They're busy doing something else. They don't get to it. So really make sure that you're filing your 990 every year. And if you're a New York nonprofit, or if you're a nonprofit outside of New York, but you're doing work in New York, you need to register with the New York State Attorney General's Charities Bureau. That's another thing that a lot of people don't know about that step. A lot of organizations, when they come to me, they have no idea what I'm talking about when I ask them to see it's the CHAR 500, and that's your annual filing. So you want to make sure that you're doing that every year as well. Those are some governance issues. Board meetings, again, it's spelled out in the bylaws. You want to make sure you're having board meetings. You want to make sure you're having what you designate as an annual meeting, where you're actually electing your directors, right? They have to be elected after their term ends. The bylaws should say how long a term is. You want to make sure you're having elections. And you also, at the annual meeting, you're going to give your the treasurer annual report. So that's another important step that needs to be taken under nonprofit law. And that annual meeting is a great time to pull out your bylaws, pull out your certificate of incorporation. That's the document that you file with New York State when you incorporate it. It tells you exactly what you are permitted to be doing in New York State. And we can talk about mission creep. I mean, that's a whole other issue, but make sure your certificate of incorporation is current. Make sure that you're following it. Make sure your bylaws are working. Make sure you have your policies in place.
This is great, Melissa, so much. Hopefully, most of you are nodding. If I can't see you, hopefully you're nodding and thinking, we're doing this. So maybe if there's something that you haven't done, hopefully Melissa's giving you a gentle little nudge to maybe take out some of these documents at your next annual meeting, or make sure you are designating something as an annual meeting and following those rules. Melissa, you mentioned the D&O insurance is one of the first things that you talk to organizations about. Can you mention that and why, just in case someone is unaware of the purpose of this and why it's important?
Sure. So as I mentioned, risk management, part of a risk management plan is having insurance, and D&O insurance, like capital D and capital O, stands for directors and officers. So it's directors and officers liability insurance. As I said, if the organization is sued, it's the board who has to answer for that. So if you have directors and officers liability insurance, that will cover the board. So they're not going to be spending money out of pocket. Usually the D&O policy will provide for an attorney to represent the organization. So again, that's litigation. We don't do that kind of work. We only do transactional work, which is like drafting documents. So if you're going to get sued and you put in a claim with your D&O policy, you should be able to get an attorney through that. Again, I'm not an insurance professional. Speak to an insurance professional. D&O insurance is really important. If you have employees, you probably should also have employment practices liability insurance. If there's any sort of claim, an employment claim, whether it could be discrimination, it could be a wage and hour claim, someone's claiming that they didn't get overtime and they should have, anything like that, then that insurance could kick in. There's all sorts of insurance, event insurance, liability insurance, vehicle insurance. If you're out there delivering, food, whose cars are people using? Are they using the organization's vehicles? Are they using personal vehicles? And what insurance is going to kick in? So there's a lot of issues with liability and insurance.
Thanks so much, Melissa. And when we talked, you had mentioned that the 990 form, it has sort of a checkbox for your conflict of interest, and they kind of might make it seem like it's, did you do it? Yes or no? Like it's optional. But just to reinforce what you said, is absolutely required on an annual basis, right? To have those disclosure forms.
Yep. So that's a New York requirement, is conflict of interest policy. Best practice, perhaps in other states, but New York absolutely requires it. So your 990 return is a federal return. It's a federal document. So if you're in a state that doesn't require it, the IRS doesn't care. They're just asking, do you or don't you have it? But if you're in New York State and you check, no, you don't have it, the AG's office gets a copy of that, and they could potentially, red flag you for that. I've heard, I don't know this for a fact, but I've heard that they have some sort of software that they can run the 990s through it and and red flag and pull organizations who check that they do not have conflict of interest policies. So if you haven't yet adopted one and you're working in New York, you want to make sure that you get compliant with that. And that 990 also is it's a public record. Anybody can pull your 990. So whether you're, positive cash flow, negative cash flow, anybody can look at that. If you're applying for grants, most funders will pull the 990 to see what the financial position is. So you want to make sure your 990 is accurate. You want to make sure the board is reviewing it. You want to make sure that they've asked questions of the accountants. And here's another, again, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a tax attorney. Make sure you have a nonprofit accountant, somebody who knows what they're doing in the nonprofit space, because there are a lot of different rules and regulations pertaining to filings that your nonprofit accountant will know. They know how to fill out the 990, how to fill out the chart, how to help you with all those nonprofit tax and accounting questions. So make sure you're using someone with nonprofit experience.
Thanks. Since it's related to what you just said, I forget, I'm sorry, who asked about a pro bono accounting connection. Do you know of any, or do you refer to anyone in that regard?
I don't know any accountant that does pro bono work. I keep saying there needs to be an organization like Pro Bono Partnership for accountants, because it's a huge need for nonprofits, and that's something that people need to budget for. I don't know of any. There's a whole list, that I do have of accounting firms that have nonprofit experience, though.
You know what? I do know of one in Manhattan. I'm just going to verify with the firm before I share the information that if you're under a certain level of revenue, that they do work on a pro bono basis, or just doing minimal work. So I'll share that information just after I verify it. It's been a couple of years since I've spoken with this gentleman who runs it, but we'll try to share that information. And if that's a need going forward in terms of accounting guidance, just like Melissa's giving us her experience, legal viewpoints, we can definitely add that to our list of topics. Let's see, I want to take Brandy's question, and Beth, don't worry, we'll get to COVID stuff toward the end for sure. Brandy asked, what would be the best first steps to requesting partnership with a municipality? Is that something that you work with organizations on?
So I don't do specifically that. More of what I'm doing is the document. So if you've worked out the agreement with the municipality, and then you say, okay, I need an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, we can help you prepare that. Or if you're given a document from the municipality and you want that reviewed to understand what you have to do to comply with it, that's something we can review. But I always say, make the ask. I do this for my own things, when I'm looking for something. The worst that somebody says is no, and then you move on, but you asked. It doesn't hurt to ask.
Absolutely. Let's talk about fundraising, right? This is something that we're all kind of focused on all year round for the most part. So what are some pitfalls that you encounter in the area of fundraising? You mentioned something that stuck with me was when you said organizations sometimes put inadvertent restrictions on funds. That's certainly something we do not want to do.
No.
But I know you have some other points you want to make around fundraising.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues around fundraising. So I've seen where organizations will send out a solicitation letter, an email, or they put up a post on Facebook or somewhere saying, I'm trying to think of something like, oh, we want to provide meals to 50 kids this summer in our summer program. Help us raise money to provide meals to these 50 kids. And then people start donating in response to that solicitation. You may have, and again, I'm not giving you legal advice, you may have created a restricted gift because you said specifically what you were fundraising for, as opposed to saying, please make a donation. Here are the programs we're doing. We're giving food to kids. We're running camp. We're, doing mental health programs, whatever it is, rather than just saying this is our mission and this is what we're doing, please donate, or saying please make a donation to whatever area of need is greatest for us. If you put a specific, you tie a specific thing to that donation, you pretty well, may have created a restricted gift. And then you have to honor the donor's intentions, and the donor intended to donate for that project. So now that could be restricted and you can't use the money for anything else. I see it with like capital campaigns. People say, oh, our roof is failing on the shelter. We need to put a new roof. Please donate to the roof fund. Well, they raise enough money to pay for the roof and there's extra money. They can't use that extra money because they said it was going to be for the roof. It has to stay for the roof. So if it has to wait another 20 years for the next roof, that's a problem. You can go back and go back to the donor and say, hey, we fulfilled this. Do you want a refund, or are you willing to put it towards our other programs? But that's another step. It's extra work for you. So be really careful about how you're doing solicitations. Also in the fundraising space, make sure you're acknowledging donations, that, it's up to the donor who gives something to put a value on it. If they give you a computer, it's not up to you to say, oh, thanks for the $1,000 computer. They have to value it. So you give them a donation, thank you for your computer, blah, 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 describe it. So that's another thing. And we have some resources on our website about that. And I should say, on our website, we have a tab for the Learning Center, and you can find webinars that are on demand or upcoming. And we also have articles on different topics, so you can find information on that as well. Another really important thing that I hear sometimes is that, oh, we're going to hire someone to help us with our fundraising. If you hire a professional fundraiser, that person must be registered in New York State with the Attorney General's Charities Bureau. If they're not registered and there's a report or an issue about it, both the professional fundraiser who's not registered can get in trouble, as well as the organization who hired the person. So it's on you to check. If you're going to hire someone to do fundraising, make sure you verify that that person or organization is registered. And there also needs to be a written contract with professional fundraisers, and that gets filed with the Attorney General's office as well. So something else to look into. There's also something called commercial co-ventures. So if you're doing something with like some big supermarket or restaurant where they're going to give you a percentage of the proceeds for sales that day or that night, there needs to be a written contract about that. It's regulated as commercial co-venture, and that's a whole other area we could spend hours talking about. Just again, I just want to identify issues for you, things to think about. Now your wheels are spinning. Hopefully you don't walk out of get off of Zoom today and be like, oh my God, my head's spinning. I wish I didn't do that. Hopefully I'm inspiring you and not scaring you too much. But there's a lot to know, and there's no handbook. I wish I could give you a handbook and say do all these things, but it doesn't exist.
Well, before we talk about something there is a handbook for, which is employees. For me, when you think about messaging, right, effective messaging for fundraising is really to ask for a pointed cause. And what you've said is by doing that, we might kind of get ourselves stuck with our funding. But we did talk about, and there is some disclaimer language, right, that can be incorporated so that you don't get stuck in that way. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. So that's correct, right? That can kind of
So like I said,
the organization.
If you say, like it can be used for this or any other area of greater need, like as long as you're putting it out there that it's not just for this, like if you're fundraising for the event on, March 1st and you hit your goal, and you've only tied it to that, then you're going to have a problem. You can't use it for anything besides the event on March 1st. So you want to word it carefully. And again, speak to an attorney about doing that to make sure you don't get stuck in that.
Great. We've got a related question, Jessica. Thanks. Before we move forward here, can you talk about New York State raffle laws? Yes, we talked about this a bit.
Yeah. So that also falls under fundraising. Games of chance are regulated by the New York State Gaming Commission. So games of chance like raffles, bingo, bell jars, anything like that is regulated by New York State Gaming Commission. If you go onto the Gaming Commission website, they actually have a tab for charitable gaming, and you can find all the regulations and forms. Very complex. If you have questions about that, again, speak to an attorney to understand it. You can also call charitable gaming. They've been pretty helpful. So there's a number to call and contact someone, and you can ask questions there.
Great. And then Vicki asked a good question here. Where is the delineation of professional fundraiser and other fundraising opportunities, like with staff or volunteers or GoFundMe, et cetera?
Yeah, so your staff is, staff, they can fundraise because they're employees. It's when you hire someone outside of the organization, that's where you need to be careful.
Great.
Just so, can I jump in 1 second? What about thank you. What about with like interns? If the organization has interns and they, with little experience and they're kind of getting it on the job. I mean, what are your cautionary tales regarding that?
For just having interns in general?
Yeah, the interns to do, different projects within a not-for-profit.
Yeah, so I mean, lots of nonprofits have volunteers, including interns, and we've worked with interns before. So there are rules about keeping the intern as an intern and making sure they don't cross over into an employee line. So they can't be doing the same work as an employee. They, you can't really take advantage. There has to be some benefit to the intern. They have to be learning something. It's always better if they're getting credit through a school program or, something like that. But you want to be really careful, because if you start paying an intern, you might lose that internship label. It might cross over into an employee. Again, it's a really fact-specific situation. And I would say, speak to an attorney. Most likely an employment attorney would handle that question between interns and employees. And we might even have some resources on our Learning Center about interns and employees. I know we've done webinars in the past about interns, using interns and how to do that. But in the law, everything is fact specific. So the best answer I could say is it depends. It just depends on the situation.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Vicki. And Tommy, I don't know if you can drop in the chat. We are having a nonprofit resource hub session at some point with Doug Rowe, who is an employment attorney. So you'll probably get some great information there. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, he's at Sir Tillman Ballin and a great colleague of ours. So let's talk more about employment, just so we can kind of, with broad strokes, talk about some of the important things to know about. We talked about classification of employees. Melissa, can you speak to that and how important it is to do that properly?
Yeah, so after bylaws, or probably bylaws are a really common project that I do, and then employment projects are probably the next most common that I do. So making sure that your workforce is classified properly. So first, is the person an employee or is the person an independent contractor? And people mess this up all the time because they think, oh, well, they're part-time, so they're an independent contractor. You can be a part-time employee. You can be a seasonal employee. There's a distinction under the law as to who an employee is versus who an independent contractor is. A lot of it's in a fact-specific analysis. So you'd have to run that by, run that through counsel to make sure that all the facts that you're presenting, delineate whether it's an employee or an independent contractor. But a lot of it hinges on control. People get it wrong all the time. So that's, if you have questions about it, if you haven't had that analysis done for your workforce, I suggest making sure that, if you say you have independent contractors, make sure they really are independent contractors and do that. The other thing is whether a position is exempt or not exempt. So exempt, again, is like, less supervision. They don't typically get overtime. Non-exempt employees, eligible for overtime. You see a lot of wage and hour claims because someone was misclassified. So again, you want to have a written job description. You want to make sure you classify the person properly as employee or independent contractor, and that the position is classified as either exempt or non-exempt. And if you haven't done that, I really suggest that you go through that analysis with an attorney and make sure that everything is up to speed. There's a lot of risk on that because, you have someone that you've been paying as an independent contractor, and then, 3 years down the road, they turn around and they're like, wait a minute, I wasn't really an independent contractor. I was an employee. I should have gotten overtime and benefits and this and that and all these other wages. And they can file a claim and you could be on the hook for that. So really, take that seriously, make sure it's classified properly. Yeah, that's.
What about an overall handbook? What about an overall employee handbook? How important is that and why?
So it's a good practice, once you start having employees, to put a handbook in place, because it's going to contain all your policies. Again, for those of you who don't know, a couple of years ago, New York requires now that every employer have a sexual harassment prevention policy. If you haven't yet adopted one, you're out of compliance. You want to make sure you do that. And sexual harassment training is required annually. So if you did it when the law first changed, you need to do it again every single year. So make sure that you put a time on your calendar and that you're doing that every year. And you can find sample policies on the New York State Department of Labor website for that. And we can assist with drafting those policies as well. But there'll be other policies in your handbook, policies about leave, about paid time off, what's expected of an employee, dress code. Now people have been working from home. Do you have a work from home policy? are people allowed to use their own computers and laptops and cell phones? Do you not want them doing that? Do you have a policy about social media use? Can people post on social media and use your organization's name? There's a lot of issues that should be included in the handbook. So it's important to spell it all out in one place so that you know where those documents are.
And what about termination? And I think a lot of organizations have been nervous about the proper way to do this. Should they be faced with needing to move toward letting someone go? What do you typically, or how do you typically discuss this with organizations?
We have 2 employment attorneys on staff at Pro Bono Partnership. So my colleague Jennifer Grodnowski sits, she's based out of our, pre-COVID was based in our White Plains office. So she handles New York. And then we have Christine Duffy, who's in our New Jersey office. And they're both employment attorneys. So they do a lot of counseling on that. When a client calls, and again, we only can give advice to clients, but when the client calls, they can walk them through the steps. But it's really important to be doing performance evaluations. And if you do a performance evaluation each year, or you have a specific process for it, whether it's once a year, twice a year, make sure you're not just glossing over and giving everybody wonderful performance evaluations if there's really a problem. Because if you're not documenting the problem, it makes it much harder to effectively terminate. If you have documentation, it helps the process. So really important to just document everything, document issues and problems, and build that record so that if it does come to the point where you need to do a termination, you have some backup for it. You want to, again, it's risk. It's preventing that lawsuit for discrimination or for unlawful termination. In New York, most employees are employees at will, unless they have a contract with you. So that means they can be, terminated at any time, and you don't have to give notice because they're employees at will. But if there's a contract, it becomes much harder. If there's a union, it's much harder. So again, employment questions, I can't stress enough, speak to an attorney beforehand, try to avoid the problem. This is that managing that risk. It's much easier to deal with the problem beforehand than to terminate somebody and then be accused of a wrongful termination and then have to fight your way through that. And I say anyone could be sued at any time for any reason. I could sue you because, you're wearing a purple shirt. There's no gatekeeper at the courthouse who says that's not a good lawsuit. You can't file that. If you pay the money, you can file the lawsuit. Now, unfortunately, whoever is being sued has to, spend money and time to defend that lawsuit. So try to avoid those situations. Deal with it beforehand, and that's another good way to try and manage risk.
Great information. Thank you so much, Melissa. So let's touch on intellectual property, and then we'll get to some, I think, top of mind issues as we are kind of coming toward the end of our time. It goes so fast. About COVID and vaccinations. I know, I feel like we're in like a speed round here. We're getting everything we can from Melissa. We're getting all the knowledge. So intellectual property, how do you work with organizations in terms of protecting their logo, any sort of programming that they have developed? How does that work when they come to you?
Yeah, so if you have a logo or a tagline or, just your name or specific colors that you're using for your materials or things like that, those can be protected through trademarks usually. If you've developed materials like for a program, a curriculum, those can generally be copyrighted. Your website might have a copyright on it, which brings me to make sure you know who owns your website. If you hired a website developer, do you own that, or did the website developer give it back to you? Is there some sort of agreement about that? Who can post content to your website also is another issue. So for intellectual property, we can help organizations obtain trademarks and copyrights. We work with volunteers who will go through that process. And then once you have that protection, you want to make sure that you keep it protected so you continue to use it and don't let it lapse, and don't just let other people use your intellectual property without some sort of agreement. So, if someone's saying we're going to sponsor XYZ organization and they put your logo on their materials, you want to make sure you have some sort of agreement that they're not going to change your logo, change the colors, the size, the shape, and you want to keep control of that.
Mm-hmm. Very good to know. All right, so in terms of COVID-19 vaccinations, I think a lot of us are wondering, can an employer require their employees to be vaccinated? I was surprised by your answer to this, but then I wasn't surprised by how you continue to talk about risk. So tell everybody what you know about this. And I think a lot, we're all wondering.
So I think, first I'll say again, I can't put enough disclaimers on this. The information is changing so rapidly when it comes to COVID. And like I said, this is something I've been getting calls about, multiple calls each week now. Can we require our employees to be vaccinated? Can we require volunteers to be vaccinated? Can we require our clients to be vaccinated? Can we take their COVID vaccine cards? Do we have to have them show proof? So again, risk management, if you're holding events, you want to have a waiver and put some language in there that yes, COVID's still a risk. And I understand by attending this event, I could, contract COVID and I'm not going to sue the organization. They've taken precautions. So you want to take precautions. Employers can require that employees be vaccinated, but there's risk involved in that. What if it's your best employee and that person decides I'm not getting vaccinated? Are you going to terminate that employee? If you terminate that employee, is there going to be a lawsuit for wrongful termination? These questions have not, been litigated yet. There's going to be a lot of litigation about it, I think, in the coming, months, years. So be careful. There, you have to give accommodations. If someone has a medical disability, religious objection to being vaccinated, they can't be vaccinated. You have to allow for that. So there might be accommodations. Maybe you say, okay, you continue to work remotely if that's possible, or you have to stay in a confined office and stay with your mask, or, there's a lot of things that you can think about to mitigate risk. If you collect the vaccine card, you might run into privacy issues, and that's health information. So now HIPAA, which is health, protects health information, the privacy of it, and confidentiality and security if it's electronic. There's a whole other layer of laws that come into health information. So yes, you can do it, but I haven't seen any organizations who are requiring it. I don't think that any of that either of our employment attorneys are saying, yes, go ahead and do it. I think they're saying you can do it, but be cautious. And again, if you have specific questions about it, contact me. I can get you in touch with Jennifer or Christine if you're a client. If not, we certainly have some resources. There are a lot of resources out there, and different law firms are putting it out there. So, find it, make sure it's the most current though. Check the date. If it's more than a week old, I would question it because things are just changing that quickly.
Wow, great to know. I'll go to Vicki, your question, and then Ed, two good questions here. Vicki asked, what are examples of precautions that a not-for-profit could state with a disclaimer related to COVID? Is that something you can answer now, or would it have to be a follow-up?
Yeah, I think it's, it's very fact specific. I mean, things I've seen are whether people, you're going to require masks or social distancing. Are you going to ask for vaccination status? I had a client recently who said, well, on our registration page for our first in-person event, we had a checkbox to just check off, yes, I agree to follow all CDC requirements. So there's lots of different ways to do it. But, I think speaking with an attorney, making sure that what you're doing is legal and that you're going to try and avoid being sued as best as you can in this environment would be helpful. But there's no easy answer. It all depends on the facts.
Mm-hmm. Ed asked about any knowledge of any pro bono sexual harassment training available or any guidance there.
Yeah, I don't know of any pro bono trainings. I've seen lots of organizations doing them. New York State Department of Labor website does have, I think it's a video training that you can do. So if you say to your employees, okay, watch the video training. The requirement under the law is that it's interactive. So you have to make it interactive somehow, like ask people some questions about it to prove that they watched it. And then have them sign a piece of paper saying, yes, I watched it. Or if you're doing it online, if you have some online portal for it, your HR, if you work with an HR company, they might be offering it. So you should check with them. I have seen, some of that.
Mm-hmm. Very good to know. So there's a video available online. Okay, that could definitely save an organization some heavy lifting if they did not know that. Thank you so much, Melissa. I just realized that I think my laptop is telling me it's 9:54. We always try to end at 9:55. I actually thought it was a few minutes earlier because my cell phone is 8 minutes fast. Long story. Sorry about that, everybody. But Melissa, I wanted to give you a chance to give us your top 3 takeaways, and then we can go to Tommy to close out. Thank you so much for your time, Melissa. This is such valuable information. We might have to bring you back pretty soon.
I'm happy to do that. It's really my pleasure. I feel like this easily could have been a 2-parter. Couple of things, right? A not-for-profit in New York, you're a not-for-profit corporation. So think of it this way. If you were a for-profit corporation, a big corporation, a small corporation, you wouldn't enter into agreements, contracts without speaking to your legal counsel. You're a nonprofit, speak to a legal counsel, speak to an attorney, speak to a legal professional. Don't do things like signing contracts without getting that advice. That would be one. And piggybacked onto that is hire that accountant with nonprofit experience. Can't say enough. Review your certificate of incorporation and your bylaws annually, right? Your annual meeting is a great place to do that. You want to make sure that they're current, you're following them, they're up to date. And then remember, nonprofits are public charities. They're there for the public benefit. They're not to benefit any individual. The board has oversight responsibility. You want to make sure that there's insurance in place to protect the board, but you're really there to do good, to fulfill your mission and to make the world a better place. So I applaud. I work for a nonprofit. I feel like I do that every day, but I do applaud all of you for making the world a better place. It's not easy work, but it is so rewarding. And I'm happy to be a resource to help foster collaborations and connections. And I'm so happy that I was able to speak to you all today. So thank you.
You absolutely do that, Melissa. Round of applause for Melissa. We're so happy you're part of our family.
Thank you. Thank you. Love starting my
Over to
morning
you,
this way.
Tommy.
We certainly are. And not to give the bums rush, but I'm going to do it. Frank Gorzo, give me 30 seconds on who you are, if you don't mind. Frank Gorzo, just come up.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy. I'm Frank Gorzo. I'm co-founder, along with my great partner, Christine Deska, who is the facilitator for today's presentation. For nonprofit sector strategies, we help nonprofits be better, manage their boards better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. I want to make sure I got you in. This has been your July segment of the Nonprofit Executive Leadership Roundtable. I just sent a link. I send out a weekly newsletter. I'd love for you guys to plug in and get the newsletter. I refuse to send it to somebody unless they've asked me to send it to them. So I had a little form made up. Fill that out. It's a video newsletter. It talks about some stuff. It talks about these roundtables. It talks about some stuff I'm doing in the sector. I'm doing 60 days of nonprofit service. I promise I'll let you go in a second, but I'm doing 60 days of nonprofit service before the end of the year. If you're a nonprofit that is nearby Nassau County, meaning Pennsylvania and South Jersey is fairly nearby that. But the closer to my house, the better it is. But I would love to do a day of service with your organization to help amplify the message of what you guys are doing out there. So just reach out to me, Tommy D at philanthropyandfocus.com. Focus, PHOCUS. Listen, if you have a topic that you want Christine and I to talk about that you think is relevant, and you just let us know what it is. Our intention is to end this meeting 3 minutes ago, which didn't happen, obviously, but that is our goal. But I appreciate you sticking around as long as you can. And really, this is not Christine and Tommy sitting around coming up with ideas. Whatever you want, or rather, even if you speak about something, I was on the phone with John Kemp, who's coming on my program. He's the CEO of the Viscardi Center. John will be on my show on Friday morning. And I said, John, I'd love to have you come on to the roundtable and talk to these folks because you have such great leadership and great stories to tell. So if you're in that position, reach out to Christine or I, and we'd love to connect with you on talking about a topic either you want us to find somebody to speak on, or if you want to speak on something and we all think it's relevant to the community, we'll do that. Christine, anything you want to close before we say goodbye?
Just the importance of filling out evaluations. We could corner you in person and force you to fill it out, and virtually it is much easier to escape the evaluation form. So please, we'll get it to you sooner. We'll send one today for today's session. Any feedback you have, we really value it. And that's where you can put those topics that you want to know about. That way we can continue to deliver what you're looking for and add value.
Thank you, Christine. Thanks for saying that. And then also use the In-Captive platform. Put your information in there so the other folks can say, how do I get in touch with Paul Rubin? How do I find Linda Berman? How do I get to Vicki Ellnor? Yeah. Have an incredible day. My favorite meeting of the month. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys soon.
Bye, Tommy. Bye, Christine.
Bye, everybody.
Frank.
Thanks.
Melissa,
Bye.
fantastic
Bye,
program. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Good day, everyone. Thank you, Melissa, and
My
Tommy,
pleasure.
and Christine, and Frank.
Thanks, Melissa.
Bye.